We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Hey, yay. Hey, yay. I'm back with a delightful follow-up video. Yesterday, we discussed and covered Joaquin Buckley, the UFC fighter, and he had some gnarly comments that were directed towards Shakur Stevenson and Terence Crawford. Since that moment in that video, both Terence Bud Crawford, that boy Bud, and Shakur Stevenson have publicly addressed Buckley's video and what was said. Also, Buckley himself followed up with additional remarks, including, but not limited to, a sparring challenge to Bud Crawford. So it's not about hype and picking up sides, but we got to talk about it. And we're tracking what was said. Some of y'all are trying to make it into a boxing versus MMA thing, but we gotta take this slow. And what this potentially means, will it happen? Answer all those types of questions. Give the Boxingego thoughts forecast. First, Buckley, he made the initial comments. Shakur and Crawford responded, and Buckley reaffirmed pretty much what he said in the first video. And I'm gonna take you through all that. So we're gonna break down each part little by little in this exchange. What's rhetoric? What's realistic? What happens next? Is this just competitive talk? Or is somebody about to fight? What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego. And I'm back with some more boxing. Man, so Joaquin Buckley, UFC fighter, took offense to Shakur Stevenson and Terence Crawford. They were on Aiden Ross's stream, which in and of itself, if you've seen some of the stuff that Aiden Ross was saying, I found it to be weird. And they almost seem out of place. For example, Aiden Ross was like, I'm cool with Teofimo Lopez. I wanted him to win. Teofimo won 7 rounds in the Shakur fight. Why don't you have Teofimo on your show and stream if you like him so much? Why don't you have him as the special guest? Oh, that's right, because he lost, right? Then he was saying Jake Paul beats Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis. He showed his mural with Jake Paul on the wall like he was a lifelong boxer, right? Ryan Garcia is on his wall. Just like really casual stuff. So to me, it look kind of weird. That's just being honest. Crawford and Shakur being there just seemed weird. It like what I noticed, and then I'll get into what Buckley said and all that. What I noticed about the game now is you can stream and everybody has a cell phone. Microphones are cheaper. You can get some decent quality sound, right? And with that being said, everybody wants to do this. So you get these streamers and they develop a following, put the work in, develop a following. But the problem is not everyone's qualified. You got people talking and speaking on hip hop, but they don't know a lick about hip hop, right? And I know this firsthand from my industry, boxing, right? Because I'm a pioneer in this sport. I did this. Me, that's who. Huh? Okay. Right? Pioneered this game. Nobody was doing it like Boxingego, the daily breakdowns, the Ego Weight Watchers. You know, at best, most people were mostly at the fights, you know, doing the weigh-ins, interviewing the fighters, interviewing people in the gym. I did it my way, and we here now. So make sure you guys subscribe. But with these streamers, I don't really knock nobody's hustle, but how are these people supposed to be like down for the culture, and then their moves don't really seem down for the culture? That's just my personal opinion. I don't see how Shakur Stevenson and Terence Crawford would sit through that type of stream where this man is like, oh man, T.O. was winning. And then it got to a point where Bud Crawford was like, I don't like mess with T.O. And he was like, I don't mess with him because he says stuff against my people. You know what that means. And it was weird. Aiden Ross was like almost trying to cape for him and vouch for him. Like, hey, did y'all say something to him first that was along those lines? Like, why would that be your first instinct? Maybe T.O. Fimo got some screws loose and he just wanted to say what he said, and he did, you know? And Aiden Ross was steady trying to like almost validate or invalidate. He was trying to validate T.O. and invalidate like the concerns from Crawford and Shakur. And Shakur's like, no. He said the hard R. You know what I mean? So that whole interaction was weird. But one thing that came out of it was boxing versus MMA. And to me, I really blame that stream for all of this because that's what sparked it. If it weren't for the streamer and the host, I really don't think the conversation would have went there. That's just my personal opinion. But for whatever reason, it went there. And I'm not going to go over the first video because I've already talked about it. And you guys search my name up and you guys can go watch that. So we're picking up here. This is new news. Boom. Shakur Stevenson took to his social media, and you know who he's talking about. You know what he's talking about. I ain't doing no back and forth with nobody. Y'all could have y'all clout. See me when you see me in real life. End quote. Short, to the point, simple. Shakur's like, I just want to fight. I'm not going back and forth with no UFC fighter or anybody. See me when you see me. Pretty straightforward. Pretty cut and dry. Hit the like button. But Bud Crawford, that boy Bud, Terence Crawford, you know he retired now, so he had a little bit more time to speak on things and speak on that Joaquin. Now, I had to redact and kind of censor some of it for sensitive audiences, but we'll get through it. Take me through that, take me through that. Take me through that, take me through that. Terence Crawford said, who's even fighting in the streets anymore? Talking about who he can off in the streets. Check out video 1. He must have forgot they make the for them kind of tough guys. Now, you're welcome to go to Terence Crawford's social media to see the unredacted, uncensored version. So he said they got the for tough guys. Then he says, I'm old and retired, y'all. I can't be fighting in the streets, especially if I don't have the advantage. Come on. Y'all know I'm scary, smiling face. So that is 100% Terence Crawford being facetious, because we know, like he said in the Errol Spence presser, I gets active. So I don't think that Crawford is out here fearing no man. So UFC and fighter included, I don't think whether he win or lose, yeah, he gets down. So him saying, y'all know I'm scary and stuff, I don't believe that. We don't believe you, Bud. Retired or not. Joaquin Buckley don't even believe you. Because he was like, he kept saying, and he'll say it in this video that we're about to get into. He was like, I know you training. I know you still training. I know you retired. You don't want to come back for the money, but I know you still training. He kept saying that. So everybody know Bud stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So as far as Bud's comments, I thought it was a little bit weird. I thought his comments would have been different because Buckley called you out for sparring, and you always see Bud working with young fighters, and he's always up for the challenge. So I actually was surprised to see Crawford like mention stuff that was like extracurricular, as opposed to, because Buckley, he ain't say nothing about that what I just went over. So that part was a little bit surprising. Now let's get into what Buckley had to say.
Ain't no good. I just want to make a quick response, man, with everything that's been going on. Seems like I got a little response from Bud Crawford, you know. Look, we're gonna make it quick. You know, I ain't gonna be all day with y'all. Look, Bud, you already know we ain't finna do this in the streets. You know, I really feel like what people don't understand what Bud did, you know,
Now he said we're not doing it in the streets, but in Bud Crawford's defense, you were the one that took it there. Joaquin Buckley was the one that's like, if Shakur was out here in the street, I could do this, that, and the third to him. So even though Bud's response was a little bit surprising, not really, because you the one that mentioned what you could do to Shakur in the streets. So he already denounced that.
That was some good, you know, deflection. You know, he didn't really want to answer what I really asked him, and that's to get that work, right? We can keep it out of the streets. You know, we ain't gonna be playing like that because guess what? Don't nobody make it back home, you know, when you keep it in the streets. But let's get in the ring. Let's spar. You already know you be out in Vegas a lot of times. You know, you spar up at the Apex. You work up at the Apex. I think it'd be fun. I think the whole world would love to watch. You know, we can go live. We can have some fun with it. And like I said before, even though that you don't train for the actual competition of it, I know you still train.
See, I know you still train. So everybody know Bud is an animal that stay in shape. And he's like, you be in Vegas, you be at the Apex. So we can get it rocking in front of the camera and we can spar each other and have some fun with it.
Just for the lifestyle. I know you still spar. I know you still get that work in. I know you still train. You know, I see Shakur, he thinks something funny. But at the end of the day, right, let's find out who really can get that work in. Because I'm dead serious about that, you know. You know, you got the Zuffa Boxing going crazy right now. You know what I mean? They building up a lot of big boxers' names. And they feel like a lot of MMA guys cannot be involved in it. I want to get some work in. And the only way to prove that, right, is to be able to work with some boxers. So, Bud, you know, yet again, you know, it's real cute that you talking about, you know what happened to tough guys on the street. But at the end of the day, man, we in the toughest sport in the world, right? And that's combat sports. So let's see who the best fighter. I'm dead ass. Let's see who it is.
So he really, really wants to spar with Terence Crawford.
What's up, y'all? Somebody talking about what happened. I mean, you see it. If y'all look it up, man, y'all see it. You know, Bud talking crazy, acting like he gonna, you know, do something, you know, in the streets, man. He gonna keep a switch. He gonna need a switch if he playing with me. But at the end of the day, like,
wow. But here's the thing: is Bud and Shakur, they were talking about Ilia Topuria, and you had a host streamer who was saying the UFC was better than boxing. Of course, they're going to defend their home. They're going to hold court and defend home turf, right? And rep for their sport. I don't see a problem with that.
Like I said, bro, let's just keep it friendly, you know? Let's get some sparring in, some good work in, and I think that's where it's at. A lot of these guys, you know, they talk tough. You know, they want to be about that life. Look, I ain't street certified. I'm telling y'all that right now, you know. And I heard Bud got popped. one time, right? You know, but at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, you already know there ain't nothing to play with. My thing is if you really want to work, if you really want to spar, if you really want to see, you know, who the best is, let's get that work in. That's it. It's just that simple.
He really want to spar Bud, an MMA fighter. Wow.
You said boxing can only fight MMA guys in the boxing ring. Yeah, true story. But my thing is, I feel like I can put some good pressure on Bud. I really feel like, you know, I can do some things that a lot of guys were too afraid or too intimidated to really kind of put pressure on them because they feel like, you know, they'll get worked or they'll get knocked out. You know, I wouldn't have no issue with kind of pushing Bud back, you know what I mean, and making him really work and really putting his heart, you know what I'm saying, to the test and seeing what that conditioning about.
Now, I already disagree. If we're talking about boxing, boxers obviously have the upper hand, right? Like if somebody's a teacher and somebody's a chef, who you think got the advantage in the kitchen? The school teacher whose profession doesn't require them to really cook and be in the kitchen, or the chef? Kind of common sense, right? There's an old Bruce Lee quote: "Fear not the man who practices 10,000 kicks once. Fear the man who practices one kick 10,000 times." Boxers, you got these MMA fighters and casuals, and they always talk about how boxers, all they got is their hands and stuff like that. That makes you, to me, more dangerous, right? Boxers are more dangerous because they have, and this is going to be controversial to some, but let me explain this. The reason why a boxer becomes very dangerous, right, is you only have this to get busy. Imagine you could be losing a fight and then kick somebody in the head, enough pressure, bow, it's going to happen. They're going to fall. Or you could be losing a fight and do a spinning back fist and hit somebody, bow, they're going to fall. Or you could crack them, bow, they're going to fall. Or you got the UFC gloves, you poke them in the eye, they can't see, right? Or you get somebody who's like a striker whose wrestling isn't good. See, and that's the problem with MMA, especially now. And I think a lot of the Georgian fighters, the Dagestani fighters, and the Russian fighters are really exposing it. You got elite level wrestlers and other people, they might be good at striking, but when it goes down to the ground, they don't know, they're not at a level to compete with the Maravs or Islam or whoever. And that's where these deficiencies, like, for example, I know people who have fought MMA, right? And they got into it late. Like in boxing, there's a window and there's only a very small percentage of people who can start boxing, like Wilder, Sergio Martinez, and they could just start at 20 something, right? It's very few. And not that you can do it or can't do it, but I'm talking about make millions from the sport and be good at it. Not like anybody could do something and get knocked out. I'm talking about be successful at it, top level, right? Versus MMA, you could train for 2-3 years and you might be able to take someone depending on, you know, what you're working with. Different sport, man. And I really wish people would allow that. But a boxer, they only got 2 weapons. You could be losing a fight and then be like, oh man, I'm going to take it down to the ground. I know my wrestling is better. And that's what you see. You see UFC fighters that can't compete with the hands and they don't want to deal with Justin Gaethje's power or whoever. So they take them to the mat. That's how that works. But a boxer, they got to use their brain. They can only use their feet to get in position. And it's these. So to me, that's more impressive. And when we're talking about mixed martial arts, peep this. Let's say there's 8 different martial arts: boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing, wrestling, right? Let's say there's about 8 of them, right? Krav Maga, whatever. You can't be elite at every single one of them. Most people aren't that. You know what I mean? Like if there's 8, I don't know how many disciplines are, but let's say there's 8 main ones that make up an MMA fighter. You're not going to be like Sean O'Malley. He's a great striker. So more leaning, he leans to the side of like boxing, stand up. But then when he fought Merab, he kept getting took down. So his wrestling don't match his stand up. You see what I'm saying? So that's why champions don't really last in the UFC. And you see quick turnovers with the belt. Because all it takes is, with all them disciplines, is for you to meet the, you know how they say styles make fights? All it takes is for you to meet the one discipline that you're super weak in, and Islam or whoever is super good in, and you're going to get cooked. True story.
Somebody say you want payday. This ain't got nothing to do with payday. I'm willing to do this for free. That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part.
Spar, dummy.
So if anybody really talking about, I'm I really don't want that work, yet again, man, this is an open invitation to Bud Crawford. Let's do it at the Apex. I'm gonna try to make my way down to Vegas March 7th. Let's do it then. Ooh, matter of fact, shout out to Clarissa Shields as well. She got her fight coming up. I'm also going to be in Detroit, right? So, you're going to have a lot of boxers out there, man, that's supporting Clarissa. I'm also a big supporter of her. Y'all know that we trained back at Saw Academy with Nick Simmons, man, when she was doing MMA. But now, she getting, another world title, probably going to defend that as well and remain undefeated. But with all that being said, I'm going to be where they at, all right? And it's just going to be me. It's just going to be me out there chilling, cooling. Like I said, if y'all want to do something, let's make fun, let's have a good time, and let's get that work in the gym while I'm out there. But I know a lot of guys, when I get out there, it's going to be all that talking. Oh, man, you talking crazy. You said you going to try to kill Shakur. Like, no, I just gave an example. If we was to fight in the streets, and it's 101, exactly what would happen, right? But trying to deflect away from the real, I'm guessing, like, action, like, let's get this work in. And he didn't answer that. So that's what I find kind of crazy, He want to bring up the whole fact that, hey, if anybody fight in the streets, somebody can get. But at the end of the day, okay, let's leave that alone. Let's get this work, though, right?
Well, I give him that. That's the same point that I made up. Like, the first thing, if both people are fighters, and it's not really his discipline, in terms of not his main discipline, his main format is MMA, and he's saying he'll box you, I don't know. Maybe you do that.
But I already know that they, in their mind, regardless if they truly believe that they can beat me up, they don't even want the possibility, of getting embarrassed or being wrong, right? See, me, I ain't got no shame in that, All work is good work. I know my boy Reggie, he disagreed, but I say all work is good work because I can't help but get better and really refine my skills, you know what I mean? And yet again, bro, that's one of the best in the world. At least y'all claim that to be, somebody that was pound for pound, so that's what that is. I stepping up in there, stepping in the ring, and proving to everybody what it is. Like I said, I ain't got no issue, man, in getting some work in. I think the biggest thing for us MMA dudes, if we really want to grow our name, we got to cross over, we can't just keep ourselves in one box. We can't just keep ourselves, silenced, to one, audience, right, to one fan base, because yet again, when we not fighting, right, a lot of stuff, we not making no noise. So why not, be entertaining by going out there and being competitive, right? Like, y'all should want more MMA guys to really kind of test themselves against some of the best people around, in all facets. So, that's why I went with MMA. But I do see myself transitioning over to boxing. But yet again, it's just a lot of guys that have done it, and a lot of guys that y'all have seen, like Ben Askren, like Tyrone Woodley, right? Like Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, A lot of these guys didn't have much success. But you can't put everybody in the same category. You can't. The opportunity, man, to really kind of show up and show out with signing up with the PFL, but, she got more money in her pockets by doing the boxing. But I would love to see Clarissa, transition back over and really get the UFC opportunity, right? because she can really, yet again, bring an audience that we need to the UFC. That at the Apex in Detroit, I'll be out there as well for Clarissa fight, February 22nd. You know, so I'm gonna see her out there. But yet again, I know that my boy be out there all the time for these events. He be watching, he be a spectator. But yeah, man, let's get this working. All right.
Wow. Now, I will say he is ambitious. I don't know too many people chomping at the bit to spar with Terence Crawford, but he's one of them. He's definitely one of them. Wow. Now, Crawford's retired, so I don't know if this is enough to lure him back to fighting. But I guess we'll see. At this point, it appears to be some competitive dialogue between high-level athletes, one in the UFC, different disciplines, one a boxer. Whether it goes any further remains a verbal back and forth or whatever. That remains to be seen. So, as always, I'm going to monitor the situation and keep you guys confirmed on any new developments. If Crawford takes him up on the offer, for example, I'll definitely make a video, or if this strings along, you know, Crawford is a big supporter of Clarissa Shields as well. So he might be in attendance, because I know he's been in attendance at other fights. So if any additional statements or something concrete seems to like materialize, you know, I'll be here to cover it. Let me know your thoughts on this crossover. Buckley saying he want to box. And is this competitive energy that can lead to something like some interest? You got Zuffa Boxing making a play. Drop all that in the comment section. Let me know what you think. We Unpacked. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new. But even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate. So ultimately,